They said it would never happen, that Iran wouldn't dare, that attacking American warships was a line even Tehran wouldn't cross. They were wrong. June 23, 25. Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. At 11:47 p.m. local time, Iranian ballistic missiles screamed out of the night sky, traveling 3 times the speed of sound. Not toward empty desert, not toward abandoned buildings, toward American soldiers. This is the story of the moment Iran crossed the Rubicon. The moment the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched a direct military assault on United States forces, and the moment America's response made Tehran realize they just made the worst mistake in their nation's history. Let me take you back 3 days. Hudner. An Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, 9,000 tons of American naval supremacy cutting through the eastern Mediterranean. 19-year-old Fire Controlman 3rd Class Marcus Webb from Tennessee stands at his station in the Combat Information Center. He joined the Navy 8 months ago. This is his first deployment, and right now, his fingers are hovering over controls that could intercept weapons designed to kill him. Because at that exact moment, Iranian radar systems have locked onto his ship. Since June 14th, U.S. Navy warships in the Mediterranean intercepted multiple Iranian ballistic missiles launched toward Israel. Not one, not two, multiple salvos, fired with the kind of precision that says Iran wasn't testing defenses, they were hunting targets. 5 U.S. destroyers formed a defensive screen in the eastern Mediterranean. Thomas Hudner, Arleigh Burke, the Sullivans, Oscar Austin, Paul Ignatius. Each one equipped with the Aegis weapon system, an automated defense network so advanced it can track and destroy missiles traveling faster than bullets while simultaneously coordinating with every other ship in the fleet. The sailors aboard these destroyers weren't there by accident. They were positioned specifically to shield Israel from Iranian missile strikes, which meant every time Iran fired at Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, they were firing through American warships. And that's not a mistake, that's a message. To understand why Iran attacked, you need to understand what happened 8 days earlier. June 13, 2025, Operation Rising Lion. Israel, backed by the United States, launched the most devastating air campaign against Iran in modern history. B-2 stealth bombers flying non-stop from Missouri to Iran, F-35 stealth fighters, cruise missiles, all targeting Iran's nuclear program. 14 of the world's biggest bombs dropped on 2 Iranian nuclear installations. The strikes were surgical, precise, and absolutely catastrophic for Tehran. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian was nearly assassinated in the attack, sustaining injuries to his leg as an airstrike hit a meeting of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. The Fordo nuclear facility hit. The Natanz enrichment plant destroyed. The Parchin military complex obliterated. 100 force-to-surface missile launchers gone. Iran's decades of nuclear development set back by months, possibly years. Trump called the operation a complete success. Iran's nuclear sites obliterated, but Iran wasn't going to take that lying down. On June 2029, days into what would become known as the 12-Day War, the United States joined Israel with direct strikes. American bombers hit 3 additional Iranian nuclear sites. That's when Iran made its move. June 23rd, Iran's retaliation. Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar, home to over 10,000 American military personnel. The nerve center for U.S. operations across the Middle East. F-22 Raptors, KC-35 tankers, command and control infrastructure worth billions. And at 11:47 p.m. Iranian ballistic missiles came screaming in. Not cruise missiles that fly low and slow. Not drones that can be tracked and intercepted. Ballistic missiles. Weapons that arc into space, re-enter the atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, and strike with the force of thunder. The base's early warning systems detected the launch within seconds. Alarm klaxons erupted. Soldiers sprinted for bunkers. Patriot missile batteries activated. And in those terrifying moments before impact, every American on that base understood one simple truth. Iran just declared war on the United States. Qatari forces intercepted the attack. Read that again. Not American interceptors. Qatari forces. Because in the chaos of Iran's retaliation after days of sustained ballistic missile attacks on Israel, after USS warships had been intercepting Iranian missiles for over a week, America's ally stepped up and saved American lives. But here's what matters. Iran targeted U.S. forces directly, not Israeli targets that American ships happened to be defending. Not infrastructure. American soldiers on American soil. That's not a proxy war. That's not regional tensions. That's war. The Red Sea, March 2025, but Iran's aggression didn't start in June. 3 months earlier, Red Sea, March 15, 2025. The USS Harry S Truman aircraft carrier strike grouped 90,000 tons of floating American air power conducting operations against Houthi rebels in Yemen. Houthis, an Iranian-backed militant group that had been attacking international shipping for months, firing missiles at civilian vessels, disrupting global trade, all with weapons and intelligence provided by Iran. President Trump made it clear, every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran. On March 15th, the Houthis, armed with Iranian missiles, trained by Iranian advisors, following Iranian strategy, launched 11 drones and 1 ballistic missile at the Truman carrier group. None came close, but they tried again and again. The Houthis claimed they attacked the Truman 4 times in 72 hours. Trump's response was direct. Iran would face dire consequences. And here's the terrifying reality. Those weren't empty threats. Because, while the world was watching Yemen, American forces were preparing something that would shake the Middle East to its core. You want to know what dire consequences looks like? Operation Midnight Hammer. June 22, following Iran's missile attack on Udeid Air Base. Following weeks of ballistic missile launches, following decades of Iranian aggression, America unleashed the B-2 Spirit. The stealth bomber designed specifically to penetrate the most advanced air defenses on Earth and deliver weapons so powerful they can destroy targets buried under 200 feet of reinforced concrete. Flying non-stop from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri to Iran, over 7,000 miles with mid-air refueling, these ghosts of the sky struck Iranian nuclear facilities with devastating precision. 14 of the world's biggest bombs. Iran's nuclear program, built over decades at a cost of hundreds of billions of dollars, set back by months minimum, possibly years. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed severe damage to Iran's nuclear sites. But here's what sends chills down the spines of military planners in Tehran. America did this while its aircraft carriers were in the Caribbean dealing with Venezuela. Think about that. While the U.S. Gerald R. Ford, America's largest and most advanced carrier, was deployed thousands of miles away supporting operations in Latin America, the United States still reached across the globe and struck Iran's most protected facilities, with precision, with impunity, with zero American casualties. The Mediterranean Shield back to those 5 destroyers in the eastern Mediterranean. Fire controlman Marcus Webb watches his screen as another Iranian ballistic missile enters its terminal phase. Traveling Mach 3, carrying a warhead capable of leveling a city block. Target, Tel Aviv. But it has to get through the U.S. Thomas Hudner first. The Aegis system doesn't hesitate, doesn't deliberate, doesn't wait for permission. It calculates trajectory, wind speed, target velocity in microseconds. Then it fires. SEM-3 interceptor missiles, the most advanced anti-ballistic missile weapons ever created, launch from vertical tubes on the destroyer's deck. For the first time in combat history, USS Navy ships were using SEM-3 missiles against incoming ballistic threats. The interceptor climbs, accelerates, homes in on the Iranian missile, traveling thousands of miles per hour. And at an altitude where the air is so thin you can see the curvature of Earth, American technology meets Iranian aggression. Contact. The explosion lights up the Mediterranean night. Debris rains harmlessly into the sea. Another Iranian missile, intercepted. Air Force General Dan Kane and Admiral Stuart B. Munch visited the Thomas Hudner crew after their successful intercepts, congratulated them personally, because those sailors' average age 22 just prevented a massacre. The message: here's what Iran learned in June 2025. 1. American warships can intercept your most advanced missiles. 2. American bombers can strike your most protected facilities from halfway around the world. 3. American will doesn't waver when you attack our forces. 4. American power doesn't depend on proximity. We can project force globally, simultaneously. Iran fired over 500 ballistic missiles during the 12-day war, launched over 1,000 suicide drones. USS and Israeli defenses intercepted the vast majority, the ones that got through. Hit mostly empty ground, a few buildings, caused minimal casualties. Meanwhile, American and Israeli strikes destroyed Iran's nuclear program, killed prominent military leaders, devastated air defenses, and sent a message that echoed from Tehran to Beijing: attack American forces and we will dismantle your military infrastructure. Remain at historic highs. Iranian President Pezeshkian claims they've reconstructed everything that was damaged. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel will not allow Iran to re-establish its nuclear or missile programs. President Trump warns, if Iran begins rebuilding, we're going to have to knock them down. This isn't over. June 2025 wasn't the end, it was a preview. Because now Iran knows what happens when you attack American warships, when you fire missiles at American bases, when you test American resolve. You get Operation Midnight Hammer, you get your nuclear program destroyed, you get your air defenses shattered, and you get a first-hand demonstration of why the United States Navy has dominated the world's oceans for 80 years. Fire Controlman 3rd Class Marcus Webb is still on the U.S. Thomas Hudner, still standing watch. Still ready to defend his ship, his brothers and sisters in arms, and American interests against any threat. Because that's what the U.S. Navy does. We don't back down, we don't give up, and we sure as hell don't let anyone attack American forces without consequences. Iran learned that lesson the hard way. June 23, 2025, the night Tehran attacked American soldiers, and the night America reminded the world why we're still the most powerful military force in human history. Welcome to the new reality. Welcome to Red Sea Inferno. And this is just the beginning.